Okay. Hey guys, welcome back to is it week 8 now?
Yep, week 8.
Week 8 of the Multi-Battle League. Of course, I'm joined by my trusty partner Baz.
Hello.
And this week we are going up against Team Subs. If you haven't watched the battle from the last week, I highly recommend it. I'll link it in the description below. And of course, this is the team builder for this week. We'll be going up against them tomorrow on Baz's channel, which is linked in the description below. And as always, for the team builders, we're just going to kind of talk about our thoughts on how to approach this matchup. And for those wondering, we will be posting the Dream Ball battle since we did not get to actually battle. That should be going up next week, which is going to be the break week. So you can check that out. Of course, Team Builder and Battle will both be on Baz and my channel. So, yep, let's just get into this one.
Yeah, okay, so this week it's Callum and Luke, two players who are not, typical VGC players. So this is, again, going to be a little bit tricky because, we don't really know what to expect. We don't know how they're going to play it either.
Right.
And they've got quite a strange team, too.
Yep. Very, very interesting team, and like you mentioned, yeah, they don't really play just competitive as much, but they're actually pretty decent too. They're 3-4 right now, and they got some really solid wins the last 2 weeks. So they started 1-4, but came back, and like you mentioned, yeah, the team is just kind of interesting and tricky really to go up against. They've used some really unique sets on a lot of these Pokemon as well in the last couple of weeks. I was just shifting through the team builders before we got started from previous weeks, and they were using stuff like, I don't know, like Weakness Policy, I think, on Shift Tree one week, like Leftovers on Hitmontop, Black Sludge on Crobat, so they do have some pretty eccentric stuff, but they do have, I think, some pretty major threats as well, especially in the Lucario, the Typhlosion, and the Raikou.
Yeah, I mean, to me, I think, my first impressions, really, my first thoughts are, there's 3 Pokemon that they've got that I am most threatened by. And number 1 is definitely the Lucario,
yes,
because that will outspeed and one-shot almost everything on our team. Obviously, it doesn't outspeed Aerodactyl, but it can bullet punch that too.
Yeah.
So to beat the Lucario, we're going to have to maybe get like a Quiver Dance up or something like that.
Yes.
But the other 2 things that I'm feeling threatened by are the Clefable, which has got Unaware and will just eat up Volcarone's attacks, or even the Belly Drum, Azumarill's attacks for days. It can possibly and probably will have the safety goggles too, so we can't spore it and do all the rest of it. So Clefable actually is going to be a problem, and because we are sort of forced to boost to beat this Lucario, I think I'm actually scared about one thing they did use a few weeks ago, and that's Transform on Mew too.
Mm-hmm.
I could very easily see them, running Transform Mew, and they could just transform into our Quiver Dance Volcarona or whatever, and just turn the tables on us. So those top 3 are the ones that I'm most worried about.
Yeah, definitely. Mew is such a big wild card just because you can use so many sets. I know they prefer to go with more offensive sets. With I think they ran the Mew Z move actually 1 week, and then they had just Psychic, Shadow Ball, Ice Beam combination of those. But definitely something we don't really have much experience against, so have to consider that a lot.
Yeah, one thing that did kind of surprise me when I was looking over their team as well is that Seismitoad is actually naturally faster than Breloom.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so I could see them putting that Timid, and then Breloom really only naturally outspeeds Druddigon and Clefable on their team. Mm-hmm. So it's not actually looking like one of the fastest ones. I think we still do want it in this. I suppose the other thing that I was thinking is that I think our lead doesn't really want to be one that necessarily relies too much on Fake Out.
Yes.
Just because they have got 2 Inner Focus Pokemon. And, they did lead with both of their Inner Focus Pokemon last week, too.
Yes. Completely agree with that. I was thinking in terms of leads, they do tend to lead with Crobat a lot. And then, I think, Crobat Lucario, Crobat Hitmontop, those are pretty popular combinations on their end. But, yeah, we probably don't want to just, be oh, yeah, we can just Fake Out and then, not get a Fake Out off. Because that's, like you mentioned, they do have 2 Pokemon with Inner Focus and a Fake Outer themselves and a Follow Me user as well.
Yeah, and Crobat does make a lot of sense for them as a lead.
Yes.
And they could easily partner it with the Lucario because they can just bullet punch the only thing that really we've got that outspeeds their Crobat too.
Yeah.
I mean, as unfortunate as it is, I can't really see any need for our bottom 3 Pokemon again in this one.
Agreed.
So, sorry, Bruxish, Regigigas. Regigigas if they didn't have their 2 fighting Pokemon, could
Yeah.
be quite good here.
Yeah.
And Purloin, obviously, fake out isn't really going to do too much of us. They've got potentially, 1, 2, 3 Quick Guarders as well on their team.
Yes.
So, sorry Purloin as well. But I guess it's just up to the other 7 that we're going to go with. I mean, Team Mythical, I think, got 2 knockouts with their Nidoking. So our Nidoqueen could do something, but I don't know if it's just habit or if they would be the best 6. But I do sort of naturally lean towards the 6 that we just used last week. But Nidoqueen really could do something here, so I do want to consider that as well.
Yes, I think this is one of the weeks where I could actually see maybe Nidoqueen over Azumarill, just because, like, I don't know, the Raikou is really scary for me personally, and like Clefairy or Clefable being to redirect everything and have Unaware, like you mentioned, is also scary. And then they also have Shiftry, which I know they've actually brought a couple of times. So all of those, like, it's not like a reason to just keep Azumarill on the bench, but it makes me think twice about bringing it. But I do think that Nidoqueen actually could be quite solid here overall.
Yeah, I didn't really think about Azumarill in that way, really. I mean, I suppose without taking it, maybe the Typhlosion could be a bit more of a threat.
Yes, that was the one thing that I was scared
of.
Like, if we don't bring
They did Scarf it last week too, and Scarf eruptions are not pleasant, really.
Yeah.
And yeah, obviously, like, even if we scarfed our Nidoqueen, it wouldn't be faster than the Scarf Typhlosion either.
Yeah.
So I don't think we want to lead with Raichu here, just because of the inner focuses and all the rest of it, and Lucario, which is a very possible lead without Speed It. Crobat, actually, amusingly enough, Crobat I think is the Pokemon on their team that's got the most knockouts for them.
Really? Yeah, they do use it really offensively, with just like with Brave Bird going right on the offense in the beginning.
Yeah, well, they had like Leech Life on it last week, I think.
Yes, and it just like knocked out or almost knocked out, I think, the Hoopa Unbound.
Yeah.
Yeah, they've typically like opted for like Black Sludge, but with offense as well. So yeah, I do think, like, I don't know, Raichu is probably still like solid in this matchup, but like you mentioned, we can't fake out. I don't know. I was thinking maybe we want a Choice Scarf on Jirachi or Volcarona this week, just so we get both of the, like, if we put the Scarf on either, it'd be able to outspeed the Lucario and the Crobat.
You know what? Amusingly enough, I was thinking Scarf Volcarona in this too, but I didn't know how good that would be, just because I don't know, they might have Wide Guard on the Hitmontop or something. I was actually thinking, like, one of my thoughts was going with like Purloin and Volcarona and using Fake Tears, but I was looking at like Fake Tears, like -2 Heat Wave calculations on things, and it doesn't like one shot much really. So
okay, yeah, that's a cool
I suppose
idea.
it would get the jump on the Lucario, which would be nice.
Right.
But I think Volcarona is going to be very important in this matchup, and I think we want it to be sort of adaptable too, because we want to be able to Bug Buzz the Mew to stop that transforming, or we want to be able to change up on moves. I think I don't think it'd be too hard to get a Quiver Dance up. It's just that I'm just a bit worried about the Clefable and the Transform, those 2 blocks to our sort of setup that we can do.
Yeah, I agree, and I think like the scary thing is Lucario and Hitmontop both get Stone Edge, and Crobat and Brave Bird, and those are all physically based, so we do have to watch out for that.
Mew can Stone Edge as well.
yeah, and Mew, which is also just annoying. So
I mean, Mew can do anything, yeah.
Exactly, yeah.
And like one thing as well that is interesting is that against when they played Drinking Birds, they pretty much swept them with Redirection and their Metagross. Metagross got like 4 KOs. So then when Dream Ball played them, they made their Bronzong really offensive and sort of supported that, and they did quite well too. We've got our own Steel Psychic type here too.
Yes.
But we could go with the setup Happy Days or whatever it's called on well, Happy Hour, that's it.
Oh yeah, Happy Hour, that's what it
keep calling it something different every week, like Hold Hands, Happy Days.
Yeah, that just shows how little we know about Jirachi and its Z move. But in all fairness, I don't think anyone really knows much about it. That is an interesting idea. Like, my initial thought was maybe go Scarf Rachi with Aerodactyl and then have Volcarona on the Aerodactyl side. Because that way it's like if they lead him on top Crobat, then they can only fake out one of the 2, so we either just get a Psychic type attack off against Crobat, maybe knock it out, or we get the Tailwind up, and either puts us in a pretty good position. If they lead like Crobat and Lucario, I don't know what the close combat like damage calcs are on against Jirachi, but I'd imagine we could bait out a Bullet Punch onto the Aerodactyl, like switch out into Volcarona and just Psychic to knock out like the Crobat.
Yeah, I suppose the only thing with that is the Jirachi at -1 after the Intimidate would not knock out Crobat with Zen Headbutt.
Right, so we'd have to maybe use a special variant, or a mixed variant, but like Psychic.
Oh, I suppose we could actually. Yeah.
Like Psychic probably picks up the knockout, I'd assume.
Possibly. I'll do the calculation.
Okay.
I mean, Crobat is deceptively bulky.
Hmm.
So I'll have a look.
We could probably forego like Timid for Modest here, because I assume Modest
if we're
actually still.
scuffed,
Yeah.
Maybe.
But,
okay, Psychic.
I will say, like, Typhlosion under Tailwind looks pretty scary if we don't have the right Pokemon out against it, so we'll have to watch out for that, because that's how, like, they swept kind of last week.
Actually, they can very easily EV to survive Modest Psychic from Jirachi.
Oh, wow, really?
Yeah. Psychic, Modest 252 Psychic on just 252 Crobat is an 18% chance to one-shot.
Okay.
So they could easily EV to survive that.
That makes things a little bit trickier.
I mean, it's a little bit similar to last week, really, against Juice, thinking, because their Crobat is basically the Tornadus, really.
Yeah.
Like, they can easily get a Tailwind up there.
Right.
So, do we want to play with the matching Tailwinds and all the rest of it? Are we forced to get into a position of leading with Aerodactyl here?
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like right now the lead I'm thinking makes the most sense, at least in my mind, is Aerodactyl Jirachi. But maybe there's something else that could work as well. Like Nidoqueen potentially actually could put on pressure. The thing is, like, if they get Tailwind up, I'm pretty worried that they can just sweep through us with like Redirection plus either Lucario or Typhlosion.
Yeah. So, I mean, Scarf Nidoqueen and Aerodactyl would not be too bad, because if they, this is assuming they're going to lead with like Lucario and Crobat. We could just threaten with an Earth Power and Tailwind to match their Tailwind.
Would a Bullet Punch knock out Aerodactyl still?
It doesn't know. No,
Okay.
Even if it's adamant, no investment on Aerodactyl's bulk, it can still take it.
Okay, that's actually really good then.
Yeah. Critical hits obviously unlock it out, but
yeah. With that calc, then I actually like the Scarf Nidoqueen Aerodactyl idea.
Yeah. That's not a bad one, is it? That actually.
No.
What other leads could they threaten that lead with? Seismitoad is pretty good against those two.
Yeah, I'd be shocked if they led that though, but
Yeah, I wouldn't expect them to lead. I don't expect them to bring their Druddigon at all either, because they've not brought that once.
right.
So like, we can almost sort of disregard that poor thing.
Yeah, what Druddigon's what, Dragon and Dark?
It's just Dragon.
Oh, okay, but it just gets Sucker Punch, right?
It does get Sucker Punch, yeah.
Yeah, I just like the last time I saw a Druddigon, I think was VGC 2011, so it's literally been like 6 years.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. The more I think about it, I feel like Scarf Nidoqueen Aerodactyl is a really cool idea. I'm trying to think, like, okay, if they lead Hitmontop, like, that's fine, because they can only fake out one of the two. Actually, but Nidoqueen probably doesn't knock out Crobat with an Ice Beam, right?
I wouldn't have thought so, no.
Yeah.
And actually, does Scarf Nidoqueen outspeed Crobat?
Oh, yeah, that's the other question.
Let's have a look at this. Nidoqueen. Okay, so if we are timid, max speed, we would have a speed stat of, drum roll, 414, which is faster than Crobat.
Okay. That's
So
good.
we would have to be timid though,
Yeah.
which means we come nowhere near to one-shotting it.
I'm trying to think, like, what our other safest lead options are. They also could just go with, like, other stuff. Like, I was thinking one thing that could be really annoying is if they went, like, Scarf Raikou, but, like, that's pretty risky to use if we have a Raichu on our side, you know?
Yeah. Funnily enough, I was actually thinking early enough that they don't really have too much to lose. They could just throw some really wacky sets on, and Scarf Raikou did come to mind as well. But we have got the Raichu, so maybe they wouldn't. And I was thinking maybe Discharge too, but they can't really safely discharge anything.
Right, right.
So yeah, aside of their the Seismitoad, I suppose. But
Like,
I don't know,
we should probably just have Raichu at least though on the Nidoqueen side just for insurance, in case like they do end up bringing Raikou and like it comes out as a lead. That way, like I'm thinking even if we lead Nidoqueen and Aerodactyl, like there's the pressure of switching to Raichu immediately, and we could Earth Power depending on what they have on their side.
I mean, are we? I get a little bit of a feeling that we're maybe overthinking this too much.
Mm-hmm.
Like, is there just a really simple lead that we can? I feel like Aerodactyl Volcarona. Like, how could they stop that? Like, if we just get one Quiver up, surely we're in a fantastic position.
With what item on Volcarona, you think?
Well, I was thinking maybe Charty Berry.
Okay.
And I did think Lumberry. Why was I thinking Lumberry earlier? Oh, maybe like Thunderwave on their Clefable, maybe. But maybe not. Charty Berry was my first thought, but I suppose the Fire Z move as well, just to get like maybe that one-shot's Clefable. I'm not sure, because that would be handy if it did.
Yeah. I think the only concern with that lead is it seems like our matchup against Crobat Lucario is a little bit more shaky. Like, what do you think we would do turn 1 against that?
Yeah, that is true, actually, yeah, because they would just Tailwind too.
Yeah.
So I suppose we would need to be Scarfed in that instance.
Right.
Typhlosion, actually, is a note as well from past generations, does get Flash Fire, so it would be immune or resist both of Volcarona's attacks.
I mean, so, like, one thing, if we're really confident, like, or we really think they're going to lead Crobat Lucario, we could just go, like, Scarf Volcarona and Aerodactyl, and then just, like, Heat Wave Rock Slide turn 1 that just knocks out Crobat. And if Lucario attacks, it's a double knockout. But that's, like, such a specific strategy for a specific combination. So
yeah, and it does rely on 90% hits hitting.
Yeah. Which is, like, given our experience with Rock Slide so far, I don't want to really take that chance if I can.
I was as well thinking, actually, what do they have? Oh, well, I suppose this means we would take Azumarill. What would they have if we just led with Jirachi, like a bulky support one with Follow Me, and Azumarill, and just try to belly drum up? Because as long as we've got Jirachi, we're kind of threatening the Clefable, which is really the biggest thing that can stop a belly drummed Azumarill.
Yes.
And I suppose...
I don't know. Looking at it, I feel like they actually don't have much. That's a pretty cool combination as well. And they definitely, like... They were caught off guard with, like, random Follow Me's before. Although we did use Follow Me Jirachi last week, so if they watch and prep, like, maybe they'll know. But
yeah,
that idea is kind of cool. I like it.
And the biggest worry for me for that is Transform on Mew.
Right.
I mean, it would only really be able to transform safely with a Quick Guard next to it, though.
Quick Guard or Redirection with Clef, yeah.
Yeah.
Quick Guard is enough of a concern for me, though, where it's like, because like him on top gets it, Crobat gets it, I think Shiftry probably gets it too.
I don't know about Shiftry, but
Lucario?
Lucario definitely does.
Yeah. It's like that.
Shiftry gets Fake Out.
Yeah. I don't know, though, like, bulky Jirachi could put in a lot of work here.
Yeah, I mean, we definitely want Jirachi, especially looking at how good the Metagross and the Bronzong from other teams did against their team.
Right.
But, I mean, we could even go... I was thinking, well, either the 50% berry, because Jirachi can eat up, like, a close combat from Lucario quite nicely and activate the berry. But maybe Occa Berry, too, just in case they do try and do things with Typhlosion.
Right. Okay, so I guess we have a bunch of options now. It's like Jirachi Azumarill or Aerodactyl plus something.
Yeah, I mean, I think the most threatening lead, just on the face of it, is Lucario and Crobat.
Yeah.
But we do have to respect this Typhlosion.
Yes.
But otherwise, I'm like, those are the biggest sort of threats, really.
Yeah, I don't know. I still really like the Scarf Nidoqueen and Aerodactyl idea, I think, honestly. Like, I don't... If they do go with, like, what we think is going to be Lucario Crobat, then we are in a pretty solid position, because, like you said, Bullet Punch will knock us out, so we can just Earth Power, match Tailwinds, and just go from there. Although I suppose they could double up onto Aerodactyl with, like, a Bullet Punch and a Brave Bird, but that seems unlikely. And even if they did do that, we'd get a free switching into maybe, like, the Jirachi.
True. They would be able to Tailwinds from there, though.
Oh, you're saying after the first turn, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I couldn't see them doing that, but
yeah, I feel like there's the likelihood of them bullet
it is a chance.
Yeah.
I mean, Crobat is the only thing on their team that is like immune or resists outside their shift tree, Earth Power. So, like, Scarf Earth Power could do some good work on them.
Yeah, exactly. Because I'm thinking they probably put Typhlosion on the opposite side of Crobat too. And if they don't, then we can take advantage of that and just, like, target around the Crobat slot.
Yeah.
And if they lead, like, I don't know, Hitmontop Crobat, like, yeah, you gotta fake out off on Nidoqueen. Or I guess that's still the issue, right? They could fake out Aerodactyl and Tailwind, and we can't pick up a knockout. But then, where could we go from there? Like, let's say they do lead Hitmontop Crobat.
Yeah, because then the next turn they could maybe, like, Super Fang and Close Combat into our Aerodactyl.
Yeah, so we could have Jirachi in the back of Nidoqueen's side, maybe? Or Aerodactyl side. Because Jirachi matches up decently against those two. But then, like, the issue is we won't have Tailwind.
Yeah.
So I guess that's the concern. Like, if they actually lead Hitmontop and Crobat, which... I don't know. That'd be annoying because it's like then Jirachi and Aerodactyl would be such a good matchup against that. But now we're kind of feeling like we're playing rock paper scissors with lead matchups.
Yeah, I suppose the thing we need to think about is how versatile our leads are. Then I suppose how good they are against all of their potential leads.
Yes.
Like Scarf Nidoqueen does seem to sound good in theory, but I'm not convinced by it as a lead, to be honest.
Okay.
I mean, if you can convince me otherwise.
I mean, the main reason I wanted to was just to put pressure on against Lucario right from the get-go, but other than that, yeah, it's not that great.
Yeah, I mean, I can definitely see that, and that Lucario really is going to be a threat to us.
Yeah.
I mean, we do want... If we are going to take Nidoqueen, we definitely want it to be Scarfed.
Yep.
And I think we can put a good argument for Nidoqueen going forward, but I do think if we support the Azumarill well enough, that could do quite well against their team as well. But I don't know, like you said at the beginning, they have one of the harder teams for Azumarill to plow through than others.
Yeah, it's just a Clef, and, like, they're definitely bringing them. They're definitely going to be using Unaware. Like, I'd be shocked if they didn't. So that means, like, even if we get the belly drum up, like, one thing we've had struggles with this season is, like, just being able to set up a Azumarill and then actually making, like, the most use out of that as well. Because it's, like, a lot of times we'll set it up, or it'll just faint, before we can even get it set up. And, like, with Clef on the table, it just adds another part of the equation. But, I don't know. Like, I'm still thinking maybe leading Jirachi is okay, especially with redirection.
Jirachi and Aerodactyl?
Jirachi Aerodactyl, maybe Jirachi Azumarill, that could still work. Let's say Jirachi Aerodactyl. Is that bad?
It depends what sort of Jirachi. I mean, if it's Scarf Jirachi, yeah. I mean, the Psychic doesn't knock out Crobat, and it can't one-shot the Lucario, even with a Fire Punch. I wouldn't have thought either. So,
Yeah, that's true.
I mean, we could. I mean, what about Jirachi and Volcarona? I suppose they could have Rock Slide on
Lucario.
The Lucario, yeah. I'm thinking like Stone Edge, but they could have Rock Slide. They could have
Rock Slide, yeah, that would be bad. The only issue is if we don't lead Aerodactyl and they lead Crobat, they can get a pretty free Tailwind up. That's, like, my only concern. But, I mean, we can't stall it out. It's just that our team is more offensive than it is bulky.
Yeah, like, I do think we do need to lead with Aerodactyl.
So do I, yeah.
So, I guess it's just Aerodactyl plus either... I don't think Volcarona, because that does make us weak to Lucario. So...
yeah.
It needs to be Aerodactyl plus something that is good against Lucario, I guess. And we have got potential Scarf Nidoqueen, which definitely ticks that box.
Yeah.
I wonder how much a like a Life Orb Mac Punch from Breloom does to it. Even though Crobat can potentially quick guard.
Yeah, the if you have time to do the calc, like modest overheat from Volcarona against Crobat, like I guess I probably don't think that knocks out, but I'm just curious.
Overheat from Volcarona onto Crobat.
Yeah.
I'll have a look at it, but I would guess it would be probably about 60%.
Okay.
Crobat, Volcarona, modest, overheat. Oh, a bit more, 77 to 90.
Yeah, still not enough though.
And what was your? Oh yeah, I was going to do the Mac Punch calculation. But I think Sash is obviously very nice still on Breloom.
Yeah, yeah.
Breloom, our current MVP with the most amount of knockouts now.
Oh, is it really? I didn't even know that.
Yeah.
It's been really solid.
Yeah.
I mean, I just like being able to put something to sleep in this kind of format is so helpful because
Yeah.
with only 3 Pokemon on one side, like it means you have a lot more leeway in your plays.
Definitely. A Life Orb Mac Punch does actually one-shot Mega Lucario, just as a note.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Okay, that's actually really interesting.
Yeah, just Jolly Life Orb Mac Punch one-shots it.
Does a single target Rock Slide from Aerodactyl knock out Crobat? Just curious.
I'll have a look. I wouldn't have thought so, but it would be reasonably close.
I mean, like, we don't want to be in a position where we're just, like, relying on knocking out something else and getting the single target and hitting, but I just wanted to know the calc.
Single target does maximum 96%.
And that's with Jolly?
Jolly, yeah.
Okay.
What is their fastest thing? Crobat. Does Adamant outspeed Crobat? I think it would do.
I'm not sure, but Crobat's 130, right? And Aerodactyl is 150, so I think it should.
Yeah, so Crobat max speed is 394. Adamant Aerodactyl, Mega Aerodactyl is 399. So yeah, we could go Adamant.
Okay, yeah.
And then the single target Rock Slide is 89 to 105.
Okay, that's still like kind of shaky.
Yeah. And maybe Jolly is nice in case they scarf something. I don't know. A modest Typhlosion I think would still be faster. Yeah, maybe Adamant is the way. Then I don't think there's anything else that they can scarf that could threaten it that we'd want Timid for, Jolly in for instead of Adamant.
Yeah, right now, like, I just really feel like they're going to go with a combination, like Lucario Crobat or Hitmontop Crobat. But they also, I guess, could go, like, Clefable Crobat and Mew, or just go with the wild card and bring, like, Mew, Typhlosion, and, like, any combination of those.
Yeah, they're really good. I mean, they have got, 3 fake outs on their team as well?
Yeah, like, I'm less worried if they... Like, the main reasons I'm worried about Hitmontop and Lucario is just because Lucario's so speedy, and Hitmontop gets, Fake Out and Intimidate. Otherwise, like, if they bring, like, Typhlosion, Raikou, Mew, like, we'll be faster and we have flinch chances, potentially. But,
yeah,
I feel like, I don't know, like, there's a reason why they've led with Hitmontop and Lucario with Crobat in, like, previous weeks, and I wouldn't be surprised to see that come back.
Yeah, I mean, we have led with Aerodactyl quite often, so I can definitely see them leading with the Lucario just to threat with the Bullet Punch.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I really would not be surprised to see Lucario and Crobat, but yeah, potentially the Hitmontop too.
Yeah, that's the frustrating thing. It's like, I feel like if we really think it's Lucario Crobat, I really would like probably Nidoqueen Aerodactyl, but then like we still don't have like a really solid game plan, I guess, against Hitmontop and Crobat. If with Nidoqueen and Aerodactyl, if that's the case.
Yeah. So would that be our best lead against Crobat and Lucario? Because we can Earth Power, we can Tailwind. How does that fall apart then? So if they fake out the Aerodactyl, they can Tailwind. Yeah, then they can. Yeah, Super Fang, close combat, I suppose.
Is there any way we could Eevee to survive a close combat from Hitmontop?
From 50%, I wouldn't have thought so.
Okay. Yeah,
because you would imagine they would have Super Fang.
Yeah, they haven't ran it really much in previous weeks, but they should know that it gets it. It's like a staple of Crobat.
Hitmontop, yeah, close combat does on Mega Aerodactyl maximum 78%. So
wow, okay, yeah, that's not good.
So have we got any other viable leads against Lucario and Crobat that doesn't fall apart against Hitmontop? So Aerodactyl plus Scarf Volcarona was the only other thing, wasn't it, that we were thinking?
Yeah.
I mean, if we did go with Life Orb, Breloom, they could quick guard on that, and then I suppose we'd still lose one of our Pokemon, but they wouldn't get the Tailwind up straight away. Yeah, I'm not a fan of that.
I want to say maybe, I guess Scarfarachi doesn't even work because of that Psychic Calc against Crobat.
What about... I mean, Raichu actually does get Celebrate. We could put like a super boosting Z move on Raichu. I mean, it looks okay against their team.
Yeah, the thing with Raichu is Raichu Aerodactyl is great against Hitmontop and Crobat, but then just really falls apart against Crobat and Lucario.
Yeah.
So I don't know. This is so tricky because it's I feel like if we predicted it correctly, we'd have a really solid lead right from the get go. But if we don't call it correctly, it'd be really tricky.
Yeah, maybe Scarf Volcarona is better because I mean, if we Scarf it, then we're still threatening the Lucario, obviously, and we're not really at threat of giving that Mew a transform or coming undone to what's it called? That ability that Clefable's got.
Unaware?
The Unaware, that's it, yeah.
Yeah.
So Scarf Volcarona could do something. Scarf Volcarona Aerodactyl, how does that lose then?
If they lead with Aerodactyl turn 1 and then just Tailwind, or they could just Brave Bird us. And then they get a Wide Guard pressure going into turn 2.
So this is a bit of a rock, paper, scissors then, really, isn't it?
It really feels like that, yeah. Unless there's something we're missing. Bruxish, maybe?
Well, if we Scarf it.
Does that even knock out Crobat at -1?
Well, Psychic Fangs does a lot of damage, so I'll look it up.
I don't know, just throwing out ideas right now, maybe.
Well, that's a decent idea.
I think Purloin and Regigigas still in this matchup. Just there's no merit for them at all. Just can't really see much here. I guess Purloin could taunt, but that's the extent of it, and then it just dies or faints. No,
Psychic Fangs isn't as impressive as I thought it was. Oh, actually, the ability is not on here. What's the ability? Strong Jaw, is it? Strong Jaw. There it is. Okay. Ooh. Oh, okay. So, without an Intimidate, Psychic Fangs does knock out Crobat, but with the Intimidate, it does maximum 99%.
Oh, man. Okay.
I mean, I did have a few thoughts as well. What if we went with Rain Dance on Purloin and try to go through with Bruxish or something? But no, I don't think so.
Yeah, it's cool, but I feel like that requires so much execution, whereas our team is hard enough to play with already.
Yeah, yeah.
It's a cool idea in theory. I guess we're back to square one then, really.
Well,
it's always just figuring out the lead matchup.
Yeah, yeah. So let's. I mean, I am still intrigued by Aerodactyl, Scarf Volcarona.
Okay.
So Rock Slide. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So the Fake Out and Tailwind. Assuming they Fake Out what our Aerodactyl, we'd get a Heat Wave off. They Tailwind. They wouldn't. A Brave Bird from Crobat probably does more than I'm expecting it would. So
I was assuming it's one-shot Volcarona, but I'm not sure.
It probably would. I mean, depends how bulky or offensive they make their Crobat too.
Right, that was the other question, because does Psychic one-shot Crobat if it has no HP investment?
From Jirachi?
Yes.
Well, I'm just looking at Brave Bird does one-shot Volcarona. And from Jirachi, Psychic. modest 252 on no bulk at all does, yeah, it does 104 to 123.
Okay.
But that is absolute no bulk Crobat though.
Yeah, and I think they've been running like Black Sludge and some bulk, so wouldn't count them out to use that again.
Yeah.
Whew.
And do you think they would lead with the Hitmontop?
I feel like
Because
no way. Like, him on top as a lead seems terrible against our team in general.
Yeah, we have got faster fake outs.
Like, we have faster fake out, we have Jirachi, we have Volcarona even, Azumarill, like, all of those Hitmontop doesn't like going up against too much.
I suppose they could put Stone Edge on it for
Right.
Volcarona. Shades of 2012.
Yeah. But, I don't know, I feel like if you're them, like, I'd probably be most tempted to go with Lucario Crobat.
Yeah, definitely. Because then otherwise, how do they threaten the Aerodactyl?
Exactly.
I mean, I suppose anything that we lead with that isn't a fake out or something that can one-shot Crobat before it moves, they will just be able to get a Tailwind up. I mean, thinking about it.
Yeah,
so,
like we'd have to match their Tailwind, and the only way we do that is if Aerodactyl doesn't faint or get faked out.
yeah. So, if we are that worried about their Tailwind, because a Super Fang Close Combat does knock out Aerodactyl if we don't match their Tailwind turn 1, then I suppose we are forced to really go with Aerodactyl and Raichu. But then that loses to Lucario.
Yes, it does. Yes, it does.
Because, like, anything other than that, and they can just fake out Aerodactyl and Tailwind, even if we knock out the Crobat after it Tailwinds, it's still got its Tailwind up.
Right.
So I suppose if they did get the Tailwind up, we would want some kind of maybe redirection on with Jirachi, maybe, to get our Tailwind up the next turn.
Yeah.
So how does Aerodactyl and Jirachi do against Crobat and Lucario? Because that does okay against Hitmontop and Crobat, but Crobat and Lucario.
What item would you think for Jirachi?
A bulky one, so like a berry or something.
What if we use the Z move Jirachi with Aerodactyl?
The setting up one.
Yeah.
That is interesting.
Like, I don't know right now, but I'm just throwing that.
I mean, I suppose if they led with Crobat and Lucario, we could Skydrop or try and Skydrop the Lucario and set up if we do get the Skydrop and they do Tailwind up, then they will not be able to move as we Skydrop. But the worry then would be if they protect on our Skydrop and then they Tailwind, then they would be able to outspeed. But then at that point, Jirachi would have had a free boost.
Yeah.
But then I suppose we're in the situation where like a Super Fan Close Combat would still knock out the Jirachi.
Right, yeah. I really want to just say Nidoqueen Aerodactyl, because, I don't know, like, Hitmontop Crobat seems like such a wild card, but, like, we can't predict them at all, honestly, and they totally could go with that. And, like...
I mean, if we don't think they're going to go with Hitmontop, I would rather go with a Scarf Volcarona and an Aerodactyl, to be honest.
Oh, okay, actually, yeah, that's a good point. Yeah. Okay, well,
so
let's say we do Scarf Aerodactyl and Volcarona. What Pokemon would we want in the back, and what sets do we want?
Yeah, I'm thinking like if we did lead with these two, what could we sort of switch in that could help us out a little bit?
So like we would want to take Brave Birds potentially on the Volcarona slot, so maybe Raichu or Jirachi.
Yeah.
Like I'm probably thinking Jirachi on the Volcarona slide. Because that way it's like if Volcarona goes down, we get a free switch in, and if they do go like Crobat, Lucario, or Hitmontop, Jirachi has a decent matchup against all of those.
And
Like
so let's just.
I feel like Nidoqueen might be better than Azumarill here, even if it's like a. I guess we can't run Sash if we want Sash on Breloom. But Nidoqueen can't really get one shot, I think, by too many things here.
Yeah, I am leaning a little bit towards Nido, just on the sort of one-on-one Azumarill or Nidoqueen. I think Scarf Nidoqueen is quite nice as long as it's not vulnerable in their Tailwind.
Right.
Else it'll just get outsped and knocked out by stuff.
Yeah. We might want to consider Wide Guard on Aerodactyl if we get to a point where we're going up against Typhlosion, but I don't know about that. The other tricky thing is if we do Scarf the Volcarona, we can't Scarf Nidoqueen. Or is there item clause in this? I actually don't remember.
Yeah, we have got an item clause. Yeah.
Okay. Otherwise, I'd be like, let's just run Scarves on everything.
Yeah.
Like Scarf
Yeah,
Rochi, Scarf Volcarona, Scarf Nidoqueen. That actually makes some sense here, but no.
I mean, if I'm just thinking like if we did go with Aerodactyl, Volcarona, if we were really thinking the worst case is Hitmontop, Crobat, then we can try and Heat Wave and like Tailwind or whatever. If they fake out our Aerodactyl, we'll get a Heat Wave off the next turn. We can protect the Aerodactyl and bring in Jirachi, because that will resist like Brave Bird, anything that they could do really onto the Volcarona slot, and then just follow me and Tailwind ourselves, and then we'll be in a pretty good position.
Yeah, that's a pretty good point. Yeah. So maybe.
So, I mean, if we just sort of play it out like that, if those two, Hitmontop and Crobat, really are the worst thing for Scarf, Volcarona, and Aerodactyl, then we can just play around that by switching in Jirachi and Tailwind up, from there.
Do you think Super Fang close combat? Like, okay, let's say, so turn 1, they fake out our Aerodactyl, we get a Heat Wave off. Turn 2, and they either Tailwind or Brave Bird Volcarona. So if they Tailwind, then turn 2, we probably protect Aerodactyl, like you said, and switch into Jirachi, but then they could Super Fang close combat the Jirachi. So, like, we maybe Eevee's Jirachi to take the close combat. I don't think, actually, close combat shouldn't knock us out, right? If we just
Jirachi should be able to take a Hitmontop close combat. That would activate our Berry as well.
Right.
I look at the Hitmontop damage on it, but I'm pretty confident it would do less than 50%.
Okay, so maybe that's a plan thing. And then it's like if they do go with Lucario Crobat, we're in a phenomenal position in turn 1.
Yeah, Jirachi can easily EV to survive like less than 50% from a Adamant 252 close combat Hitmontop.
Okay, so maybe Aerodactyl Volcarona as a lead, Jirachi behind Volcarona then.
On the Volcarona side, yeah.
And then how do we want to round this out?
I suppose the only debate at that point is, do we want Nidoqueen if it can't be Scarfed?
I think we still do. It seems really good offensively here.
So like, is there any resist berry that we could put on it? I mean, what is it threatened by?
Yeah, like the only thing I think I'd be scared of is either Psychic from Mew or a water type attack from the Seismitoad.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I don't think anything one-shots us, so we could just run Life Orb with Sheer Force. And that probably picks up one-shots on most things.
It probably would do, yeah. Yeah.
And the main question then would be, like, what kind of Raichu set would we want if we do end up bringing it? Like, Electrum could still be decent. Assault Vest could maybe work here. We don't have a Z move yet, that's the other thing, so...
No, we haven't. Okay, so we've got the Mega Stone on Aerodactyl, the Scarf on Volcarona, a 50% Berry on Jirachi. Yeah, so we are free to Z move.
Yeah, I don't know. I think the more I think about it, maybe we just do Aerodactyl, Scarf Volcarona. And I think... maybe we want Raichu, Volcarona, and Jirachi all on the same side, just because Raichu on the side of Aerodactyl also dissuades Raikou a little bit more.
Yeah, yeah.
And then Breloom and Nidoqueen on the Aerodactyl side.
Yes. I think we definitely do... Okay, so we definitely want Breloom, I think. I'm just not 100% in my own head about the two we want out of Raichu, Azumarill, and Nidoqueen. Because what does Raichu actually do for us outside of Lightning Rod the Raikou's attacks?
It's a pretty good point, actually. Maybe Azumarill's better, just because, like, Play Rough still does a lot to most things.
And it's only really threatened by the grass, the Shift Tree, and the Raikou.
Yeah, you're right.
I
Actually,
mean,
I think maybe we want Azumarill.
Azumarill is pretty good against the Lucario if that does become out of hand. But I do think like Fake Out and Lightning Rod and like potential Encores and maybe Feint if I suppose if we're not Aqua Jetting then we're not too worried about Quick Guard. I think Raichu is good for us here still.
Yeah. Yeah, that one's
In
tough.
which case it's just do we want the Nidoqueen or the Azumarill really?
I think I really want Nidoqueen here because it can one-shot Lucario. I don't know how much Life Orb Sludge Bomb does against Clef, but I'd assume maybe a decent amount. Like you mentioned, like the Nidoking picked up like what 2 or 3 KOs against the team when they played, so I feel like that just demonstrates like the offensive presence that it has, and it doesn't immediately get pressured by one-shots against anything other than the Mew, but we have like some answers against Mew.
Depending on Clefable's investment, it could potentially one-shot.
Right. Yeah, so with that, it's like we threaten one-shots on like Typhlosion, Lucario, Raikou, Clefable.
Yeah, they can easily EV to survive the Sludge Bomb. They're looking at it.
Right.
Yeah.
But still, it's like it puts on so much damage.
Yeah, other than really Jirachi, we don't really have too much that could hit the Clefable actually.
Yeah, exactly. So that's part of the reason why I think it makes sense too.
And they probably would assume that we would take, like if they see our Aerodactyl, if they see the Brilliant, they probably would assume that our last one is Azumarill as well, just because we don't really use Nidoqueen too much.
Yes, exactly.
So that could sort of throw them off a little bit too.
Yeah.
So I mean, I am leaning with you now more towards Nidoqueen. I'm just thinking, what would we potentially miss from not taking Azumarill?
I'm thinking, like at first I was just like, oh yeah, cut Azumarill. But the more I think about it, maybe we could actually bring Azumarill over Raichu. Like that's something I'm thinking about now.
We could, but then I don't know. I feel comfortable with Raichu just because.
Okay.
Other than maybe like Skydrop and like a Follow Me, we don't really have too much to sort of control the battlefield. Like I'm really comfortable with sort of Fake Out and that sort of stuff, just in case they do get a Tailwind up and things go pear shaped like that.
Yeah, I think I agree with you there.
And we would be extra weak to Raikou as well without the Raichu.
Yeah, that's a great point.
Yeah, we'd actually be really weak to Raikou.
Okay, so I mean, in terms of sets right now, just to help me figure out what the last one we want is, like, we probably want Life Orb Nidoqueen, Sash Breloom, Scarf Volcarona this time. You said Berry on Jirachi. I think that, like, 50% Berry actually makes a lot of sense here.
Yeah, because then we do survive, like, Super Fang and Hitmontop plus combat.
Yeah. Would you want to run, like, physical, like Zen Headbutt, Iron Head, Follow Me, Protect?
I think, well, we definitely want a steel attack, and I suppose a psychic attack does make sense too. We do want to Follow Me. I'm just thinking, like, I liked like Icy Wind last week. I mean, do we like an Icy Wind could really help us out if the Lucario does get going, or it puts their Raikou slower than our Nidoqueen and whatever too.
What would we cut over Icy Wind then?
Yeah, that's the thing.
I feel like
maybe the psychic attack.
Yeah, I really like a psychic type attack here because they have like Hitmontop, Lucario, and Crobat. And if we're switching Jirachi and especially assuming Tailwind goes up, I feel like with the psychic attack, you pressure a little bit more.
Yeah, that is true. Right. So, and we would want Protect as well.
Yes, for Tailwind.
Yeah.
So Raichu or Azumarill? That's still the question, I guess.
I think Raichu, definitely. I think it has to be.
Okay.
I mean, we're so weak to Raikou without the Raichu.
What set are we thinking of for Raichu then?
Well,
Freak Out, Thunderbolt.
We have got a free Z move. So we could go Gigavolt Havoc. We could, if we really wanted to try and be cheeky, go with the Z Celebrate.
I think it's a cute idea, but I feel like Gigavolt Havoc's just consistent damage here.
It is, but I mean, if we did get the Celebrate off, we would be faster than like the Lucario and faster than the Crobat and.
Does +1 Thunderbolt knock out Lucario?
It might. actually. I'll look it up. Right, yeah. This is the part of the video where Barry tries to convince Aaron to do silly things.
No, I'm all for it.
It's that point at night over here. All right, Thunderbolt. Oh, I don't think it will.
Okay.
Thunderbolt +1 on Lucario. No, even if we're modest, it's maximum 106%. Okay. So yeah, not quite.
I don't know. I like Electrum Z then, I think.
Yeah, electric Z move is probably the best option.
Yeah, like that does a lot, even if it's anything like resists it. Like it's still solid damage. Where like something else like a Bullet Seed from Rayloom or I don't know, like yeah, it just puts it so that you can like combo knockouts, even if it's not knocking out like one-shotting anything.
Yeah, I mean how many special attackers have they got? Because I mean the Salt Vest is potentially an option too.
Yeah,
just because we could go with like I was saying, like Icy Wind would be nice on the Jirachi. Maybe we could go with like Electro Web on the Raichu, just because
that's interesting.
Because it is opposite side to Nidoqueen. We could potentially put Nidoqueen faster than anything and just threaten with a one shot.
Right.
So like I suppose we could do the same with Nuzzle, but either way. I suppose Electro Web still reduces the speed of the Raikou, so I suppose you would want that.
Yes.
So, I mean, the Electric Z move is like a nice sort of go-to option, but now I'm thinking like maybe Assault Vest with Thunderbolt, Grass Knot, Electro Web, and something else could do some work for us, because at least then we're sort of covering the Seismitoad, and we can... I guess Lucario either way outspeeds in one-shots, so... I don't know. I suppose the Z move is nice just to get damage on like the Clefable. It could, one-shot the Hitmontop maybe after a close combat drop. Could do a lot of damage to the Typhlosion too, actually.
Yeah, that's what I would like. It's just like it's safe because like even if you're doing it against something that resists it, like I don't know if they bring the Druddigon or the Shifty, that's still like some free damage you get off against it.
And we don't have to be Assault Vest to use Electro Web. We could be Z with Electro Web too.
Yes.
If we really wanted.
Yeah.
What would we do that? Would we have Fake Out, Thunderbolt, Electro Web, and then we've got either Grass Knot,
maybe Encore.
Yeah, Encore, maybe Feint, but maybe not.
Yeah.
I mean, Encore is always a really nice option, but we've not actually used it at all, I don't think, this season.
Yeah, I think if I had to pick, I'd actually choose Grass Knot just because, like, Seismitoad does look still kind of scary, and like if you can just catch them off guard and one-shot that, it would be a huge relief.
Yeah, especially if it is timid to outspeed our Breloom.
Yes, exactly.
I mean, if we do go Volcarona and Aerodactyl, their Seismitoad would be an easy switch in for them there.
Right.
But then, I mean, if Raichu is on the side of Volcarona, they could just Earth Power the incoming Raichu.
Yeah.
And then an Assault Vest probably would survive that, but...
This is really going to be like read and reaction based on the first couple of turns, I think. Like, once we make it past the first 2 or 3 turns, like, there'll be some grounding, but these first 2-3 turns of this matchup specifically, I feel like are going to be super volatile.
Yeah, I mean, now that we're actually looking at this Seismitoad, it can actually do a lot of work on our team.
Yes.
Like, water and ground hits... the Raichu, the Jirachi, the Nidoqueen, the Aerodactyl. If it is timid, it can, Ice Beam our Breloom, and it can, water our Volcarona too. So actually, the Seismitoad is a really big threat.
It is, yeah.
So I think we definitely do want Grass Knot on Raichu.
Yes, I agree.
That's scary, actually. So maybe, what is Nidoqueen's base speed? And compared to Seismitoad, is it faster?
I'm not sure, actually. It's a good question. The other thing I was scared about is if they go, like, Rain Dance Crobat to set up Seismitoad.
Oh, yeah, it has got a Swift Swim, hasn't it?
Yes.
Yeah, Nidoqueen is base 76. Seismitoad is base 74.
Okay.
So maybe we'd have to go Timid.
Yeah.
Just to get a bit of a jump on that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that is an option, isn't it? But I suppose if
they the thing is, if they Rain Dance, that means that's a turn they're not Tailwinding, which means we could.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and then we could still withdraw into Jirachi or whatever the next turn.
Yes.
So I mean, I think we're almost there with what we want. I suppose our decoy Pokemon would definitely be a Azumarill, and maybe the Regigigas.
Yep.
But yeah, I mean, I'm happy with what we've got. I think. I mean, I don't think they'll go with Rain Dance, but I mean, it is a very viable option. I mean, they can like Thunder, they can Swift Swim.
Yeah. Like, one of the things is I feel like it's easier for other teams to cheese us in best of one with, like, random strats than for us, just because, like, for us it's more about putting on a random set or a random item, whereas other teams, like, I feel like if you prepare properly, you really could maybe catch us off guard. So, once again, I feel like this matchup is really tricky. It's just going to come down to, like, the first 2-3 turns, because the way I see it is, like, if they lead Lucario Crobat, then I feel like we'll be in a really good position just with Heat Wave and Rock Slide pressure immediately, and they'd have to switch so much, and we just have a lot of momentum going into the game. But yeah, I don't know. Like, we could maybe even like if they're caught off guard, don't expect the Scarf on Volcaron either. We could just like pick up a double knockout and just like pretty much win the game from there. But also like they could have some switches if they have like Hitmontop, bring it in for Intimidate. So I don't know. There are a lot of tricky things here, but.
Yeah, I think Scarf, Volcarona, and Aerodactyl does actually do really nicely against their team, but. Yes. If they do go with him on top, then we can just bring in the Jirachi and follow me, get our own Tailwind up, threatening with our Zen Headbutt or Heart Stamp.
Oh, that is the question.
Yeah.
If they both get the knockout on Crobat on Hitmontop, probably Heart Stamp.
I don't think either, to be honest, would.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, I mean, Crobat is slightly bulkier, I think, so I'll do the calculations on Crobat.
Even at neutral? Neutral attack?
Yeah, I wouldn't have thought so.
Huh. I guess Jirachi's just a little bit weaker than I always remember.
Yeah, it's only base 100.
Yeah.
And it's power 60, Heart Stamp, isn't it? So, and we would want, a decent amount of investment in the Jirachi too.
Yeah.
But even if we were adamant 252 Jirachi, neither one-shots Crobat. Zen Headbutt maximum is 90%.
Wow.
Yeah, so Jirachi is not the most powerful thing, so I think
You know what, Jirachi, you got us a win last week, so we'll give you a little bit more credit. But maybe we won't draft you next year. But,
yeah.
Okay, I mean, I feel like we've figured out all our sets and which Pokemon we want, right? It's just, It's just going to be a tricky game, I think, from the first couple of turns, but...
Yeah, just seeing how it actually plays out, how they lead. I mean, they won't expect us to Scarf all Volcarona. We've never used Scarf Volcarona before.
Yes, exactly.
It's just, like we did say earlier on, we are sort of relying on sort of hitting for 90% targets here.
Yes, which is pretty scary, but those odds are still relatively in our favor. And if they protect Lucario, then, that becomes hitting 90% attacks instead of 4.
I mean, I will just look at the Rock Slide Heat Wave damage on Crobat, just because we are relying on Rock Slide and Heat Wave to knock it out. Yeah. That's like if this doesn't knock it out, then their whole plan is just sort of falling apart again.
Yeah, that's a great point.
All right, Adamant. Oh, I'm not liking this. Looking at this. Oh, okay, Mega Aerodactyl. That's a little bit. So Mega Aerodactyl Rock Slide. Ooh, if they are 252 HP. Rock Slide does 66 to 79.
Okay, so let's say 66.
Yeah. Volcarona, let's say modest max attack Heat Wave, 42 to 50.
That's enough then, right? That should be good.
Was it 66 minimum?
Yes.
Yeah,
so
it is definitely enough.
At least.
Yeah. So that will be our baseline then, those combination of attacks hitting the Crobat. Yeah. Good. Right, okay. I'll make a note of that when I do the EVs for him.
Yes.
Right. Okay. Good. Phew.
Okay. I feel like that's as much as we can do. It's just playing well and really seeing what they lead with and reacting as well as we can.
Yeah. So
I like our game plan.
I mean, it's it's quite unnerving how not confident we are going into a lot of these games, just because, like you're saying, like our team does seem like it's one that sort of can be picked apart so easily.
Yeah. I think
that's just the style
it's
of
funny
team
because like I look at some of the other team comps, like some of the VGC players, like some of the top teams drafted, and I'm like, oh, like I feel like we could maybe set up a Zoom pretty easily here in Sweep, but like a lot of these teams that have players that don't necessarily play VGC have ended up drafting like some of the scariest team compositions just by like like by them choosing really cool Pokemon and crazy stuff. And so I don't know. Like I completely agree with you, but we do need just 2 more wins to get into the playoffs, and then come playoffs time, like whatever. But getting a win here would really solidify our position going into like the last couple of weeks. So really do want the win, I think.
Yeah, I think we need it here.
Yeah.
So let's just see how it goes.
Yes.
So tomorrow the battle will be on my channel, and fingers crossed it goes well.
Yes, thank you guys for watching. Once again, Baz and I in a very long team builder, but hopefully you took away a thing or two, and fingers crossed. I'm really excited to play them just because they're really nice and cool guys, and should be a fun battle.
Yep, alright, and we'll see you tomorrow.
Take care.